What would you do if you had to wave a magic wand and forget everything you knew about training? Forget everything you knew about anything to do with the gym, your entire body. You just get a complete clean slate. If you can wave that wand and do that, what program would you start up again if you decided to get strong again or go back into a bodybuilding routine? So you blank slate yourself, you memory wipe yourself, you Men in Black yourself so that you have no recollection, no memory. Let's go even farther and say you're back to square one as far as your gains and strength standards are. You're back to starting off with a 45-pound overhead press. Let's say you're starting off with a 135 squat, a freaking 150 bench, and your deadlift's a measly 185. Let's keep those numbers. So what if you could do something to where you are a blank slate again? What program would you pick and run? I did just the thing, and I picked starting strength.
I know what you're probably thinking, dude. How did you actually go to a blank slate like that? How are you able to do that? Well, if anyone has gone through multiple injuries or multiple surgeries that last half a decade, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know that it is not easy to recover sometimes, and your strength gain plummets worse than going back to freaking adolescence in your freaking high school gym class. It's worse than that, okay? So I know how to reverse the clock. It's freaking get hurt or get injured or go through surgeries like I did where I couldn't lift for freaking heavy and hardcore for probably 8 years. It sucked. I had the clean slate time. And this is after I did all the HIIT training as well. So I was back, slam, back, dunk down to nothing. My overhead press did start off at 65 pounds again as a late 20s male. That kicked me in the nards pretty bad. That was rough. In my squat, I was getting sore from doing body weight squats after what I went through. That's a whole nother story, but I'm just telling you, I did start from that bank slate, nothing. We're going to hang out and talk about starting strength because that's the blank slate program. That's the blank slate program I decided to start again when I was at my lowest. I'm glad I did. So the starting strength program, what is it? What's it all about? So the first thing I'll discuss is just the basic novice program, which I ran. And again, another kick in the nards running a basic novice program when you're freaking late 20s. But hey, I dropped my ego and humbled myself, and I decided, hey, I'm going to do something that's tried and true for once, follow an actual program. I never really did that before. So what did I do? What do you start with? So you do compound lifts. Starting strength gentlemen always recommend your compound lifts because that's how you get strong, and that's true. So what do you start with? You start with squat, bench, and deadlift. That's 80% of your program on starting strength. Okay? So you're doing 3x5s, and you're getting all 3 sets of 5, and then you're moving up 5 to 10 pounds the next workout. And you do that 3 times a week. That's it. It's that simple, starting out on a novice program. Okay? Sometimes they'll have you do the press. Sometimes they'll have you do chin-ups. And I think power cleans are in there. I think power cleans are in the system as well. Or muscle power cleans, where you're not like going too deep. It's just you're muscling up the power clean. I believe that might be the novice. But regardless, you're picking about 5 movements. You're doing 3 sets of 5 reps, completing all of them. And once you complete your 3 to 5, you can go up 2.5, 5, 10 pounds, depending on the lift. For lower body and deadlift, you're probably picking the latter. You're probably picking 5, 10, 15 pounds if you can muster it up, especially in the beginning. Like, again, if you're blank slating this, starting from nothing, and you really are truly in your novice gains, you are going to be able to put on 5, 10, 20 pounds on your lower body leg lifts and deadlift lifts. Like, that's easy. It's going to happen. Okay. Now for bench and upper body and the press, we're back down to probably 5 to 2.5, especially 2.5 on the overhead press. And pro tip, that's actually how I'm improving right now on the overhead press. I'm only going up 2 to 3 pounds each time. And I do that with a varying bar. I'll go over that later too. But that's the blank slate program I decided to use. And I'll put the list of my starting numbers, and I'll put the list of my ending numbers on this screen too. Alrighty, so I told you what my starting numbers were when I started starting strength. Just so many starts. Here's my finishing numbers when I finished finishing strength. No, when I finished starting strength. So beginning numbers, finish numbers. I'll put them up there. And this is all within 18 months. And I'm going to go over the pros and cons of the whole situation I went through as well. Or not situation, but the program I went through. So, just like I said in the HIIT video, every single program, every single style, every single theory has its pros and cons. So what were the pros for starting strength? Number one, it worked. I got strong as crap using it. Okay. It's so simple as a 3x5 progression, novice linear progression. This is the stuff everyone does at the beginning. It works. It's tried and true. Okay. Super basic. However, I never stuck to just compound movements ever in my life up until that point. I always did some kind of isolation work. I always did, extra bicep curls. I always did triceps, extra shoulder lateral raises, all that stuff. None of that is in starting strength. It sounds blasphemous, I know. They should throw in curls at the very end just to satisfy the bros. I think they say that a lot. They're like, go ahead and do your curls. Like, it's not going to hurt you. I'd recommend you do that too, because the only bicep really stimulating thing or targeting thing they could have you do is chin-ups. And I believe you need chin-ups and barbell curls to get a full developed bicep. But anyway, now what the video is about. Back to the pros. So I got strong. One of the other pros to it was I got to completely relearn my lifts. So in the entire starting strength book manual, I'm going to show you guys that too. So I do have it. And I do have practical programming. So I do the research when I talk about these things. Like, I'm not just out here spitting it. I mean, I am out here spitting it, but I am deeply involved in learning as well. And that also meant I was wrong a lot. Okay, so yeah, I got to relearn all the lifts. Okay, so I never really low bar squatted before that. So I had to learn to be more mobile with my shoulders and get into that low bar position, which I was able to lift the most weight with. And it did really work. It worked really well with my anatomy. It cured my knee pain, because I wasn't putting so much shear on my knees with an excessive knee forward position, which I don't really care if someone does that. I don't think it's the cause of knee pain, but when I had knee pain and I would squat, it was like freaking knives and bullets going straight into my kneecap, like right at the top. What fixed that was the low part positioning and utilizing more of my hip drive, Ripito would say. And that cured my knee pain. I was able to get into the 400 squats without knee pain. And that was unheard of with high bar or front squat. Freaking unreal. So I was ecstatic that I didn't really have knee pain doing starting strength or lifting only fives. I loved that part of it. So joint pain was pretty much, I didn't have any, because you really don't have much overuse injuries either with this, because it's so low volume and so minimal effective dose that you don't get all that extra wear and tear and beat up on your joints and your whole system. Like, that's kind of why it works as a novice program, man. It just drills into you how to do the movements, and it gets you squared away with strength gains in the meantime. Like, as far as a program goes for a starter, it's fantastic. Like, that's literally what it's called. It's called starting strength. Now, what would I say some of the cons are? That one I do have to think about a little bit. But the first one is, if you're going at this in a bodybuilding perspective, see, it's all about context. If you're going at it in a bodybuilding perspective, you aren't hitting every single muscle and stimulating every little part of it to build every little part of it. Okay, so you're probably not going to have the most developed rear delt or lateral raises when you're doing starting strength. You're probably not going to have the best built hamstrings while doing this one either. You know, you do have your deadlifts. That takes care of a lot of it. But you don't have any lying leg curl. You don't have any good mornings. You don't have any calf work. So you're aesthetically, you're not hitting everything you need to hit to look good on a bodybuilding stage. Not fair? I think that's fair to say. And I've done both contextually, right? I've done things for strength only, and I've done things in the bodybuilding perspective only. And you do see a difference in your training. Like, they're specific for a specific reason, right? Strength athletes do strength movements and don't care about their body. Bodybuilding people don't really care about strength necessarily. It's important. They're both important for each other. A bigger muscle is a stronger muscle, and a stronger one's a bigger one. Again, that's beyond the point I want to talk about here. But the con is, in the context of bodybuilding, you won't have the aesthetic physique, so to speak. Now, they claim you will, because these movements build big traps, bigger shoulder girdles, more room in the hips, more thigh development. Fine and dandy if that's what you want to look like. But some modern and previous bodybuilding gurus didn't want so much of your hip involved. More quad, more isolating the hamstring, more calf development. Just is what it is. More rear delt, more lateral raises. That's the negative of that. If you're going in this with a mindset of, I want to build the most muscle on each individual muscle in my whole body, probably won't happen. However, you will build most of your mass on this program if you run it during a bulk. You'll get most of your general body weight and strength gains on that type of program. It doesn't even necessarily need to be starting strength, but something like it, where you are hammering the basics, you hammering them with low volume, a high intensity, and you're focusing on progressive overload. That is the core of all training. And I said it just in one simple little freaking video of a nugget right here, okay? It's all there is to it. That is 80% of your gains, your novice gains. What about this guy here? He looks like he's well past the novice phase. He, on the other hand, will probably have to run something afterward, like, I don't know, a Texas method, so to speak. Now, Texas method is basically just prolonging your progressive overload. You're only adding weight to the bar one time a week instead of 3 times a week now. Your body can't handle all the stresses anymore. So you got to run an intermediate program, such as a Texas method. Okay? You have a volume day, you have a light day, and then you have a heavy/intensity day. That's what something like this dude would have to do, because he is freaking built and jacked and armless. I got him covered though. Anyway, he's doing Texas method. That's in the book too. Okay, it's in practical programming. That's all on the starting strength. I think they call it Texas method because that's where the method began. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's true. But I ran that too because I did hit a wall with my linear progressions. Okay, so I had to run Texas method for a while, lower my reps from 5s to 2 to 3s, and work on my intensity and get stronger that way. But it was a fantastic way to bridge the gap with your novice phase into an intermediate phases with the Texas method. I'd recommend that too if anyone's stalled on their novice program. Okay, fantastic way to get through that. Ain't that right, Bob? These guys have their own channel. They have their own YouTube channel. They have their own website. They are freaking out there. If you're in the fitness community, you probably know about them already. And shout out to Jason Blaha, who initially got me involved with that program because I never heard about it until I was watching his videos. So he's awesome. Listen to his stuff too. He's a no BSer as well. So there's another negative we really haven't talked about. And that negative is people do view starting strength and Mark Ripito as quite dogmatic sometimes. Like an example would be the squat. You know, he claims that if you aren't really low bar squatting all the time, like high bar is not really necessary, or you know, you're wasting your time with Zerchers, you're wasting your time with goblet squats, front squats. They're in the book too. There's mentions of them, but he really wants you to do low bar most of the time. So like when you're running his program, you're running his program. You know, he's not going to tolerate questions from people running it if they're not running it. Okay. So if you're like, hey, I'm not progressing on my squat, and he's like, okay, what are your low bar squat numbers? And you're like, well, I've been high bar and front squatting. He's not going to tolerate that. Okay. He's also very no nonsense. He's awesome to listen to. They have all kinds of podcasts and questions and Q&As, and they actually have gyms all over the states too. It's really cool. They just opened one up near me as well. Like I saw someone with a shirt on. It was pretty awesome to see. So they're awesome, but if you're not for a dogmatic approach and just learning what they want to tell you to do, if you're not listening to exactly what they're telling you to do, they're not going to be for it. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit more on the dogmatic side, and that's not necessarily a problem, especially when you're first starting out. I think that's their idea with that is they want you to listen and pretend you don't know anything so that you can gain a lot from them. Like they do care. They want stronger individuals on the planet. Okay. And so do I. So I'm very in tune with their message, and I loved running their program for the start. Now, I'm going to say I was one person who didn't run their thing exactly up to code, but I knew more than just what someone just starting out would know, and especially knew about my body. Like I knew certain things weren't going to happen, but I did learn a lot. Like I learned how to actually press. I learned how to get my numbers up in the press. It was great, man. That was such a fun adventure to get my overhead press numbers higher. That was awesome. And I never low bar squatted before. Always high bar, front squat, knee dominant. So it was fun to get my low bar squat numbers up. Highly recommend. And here are the books. Highly recommend you get them. I believe these are I think you can just get them on Amazon or their website. I think I just did Amazon. But these books here are such any respectable athlete, trainer, fitness enthusiast, anyone would have this stuff in their library. Like it's so in depth with anatomy, how to do the lifts, and it's quite mechanical. Okay, so the way they describe things in the book is very A to B to C to D. Like it's not, dude. It's very detailed, very very detailed. Like a engineer or a mechanic freaking wrote it. Like they pride themselves on being very scientific and very very detail oriented when they're teaching. They're very critical on this stuff, which is amazing when you're trying to teach someone how to do anything. Okay, and this is more for after you're in the novice phase. This is all kinds of programs afterward. So starting strength, Ripito, an amazing blank slate program. Getting first into it. If you need to get strong again, it's an amazing program to start doing. It's amazing after injuries. It's amazing just to get your numbers back up. Highly recommend starting strength barbell training.